Hello and welcome to the history of movie theaters for Detroit for 1920 to 1929. (1920) The La Salle Garden Theater opens at 6511 14th Street. The Imperial Theater opens at 7300 Michigan. The Kramer Theater at 5741 Michigan opens. Konski Theaters opens the Linwood La Salle Theater. These theaters also opened in 1920. The My Theater at 1812 Gresham closes. (1921) The Tuxedo Theater in Highland Park opens on October 28th. The Harmony Theater opens on December 19th. The Arthur Theater at 8730 Harper opens. The Theatre Comique at 1249 Broadway opens. These theaters also opened in 1921. Here are the changes. These theaters closed in 1921. 1922. The Capitol Theater opens on January 12th as the fifth largest theater in the USA. The Chopin Theater at 7320 Michigan opens. These theaters also opened in 1922. Here are the changes for 1922. These theaters closed in 1922. 1923. The Grosse Pointe Park Theater at 15003 Charlevoix opens. These theaters also opened in 1923. Here are the changes for 1923. These theaters closed in 1923. 1924. The Cinderella Theater at 13305 E. Jefferson opens on January 14th. The Ambassador Theater at 17730 John R. opens in Highland Park. The Amsterdam Theater at 12240 Grand River opens. William Schultz opens the Oakland Theater at 7510 Oakland. The Martha Washington Theater in Hamtramck opens. These theaters also opened in 1924. These theaters closed in 1924. 1925. The Grand Riviera Theater opens on August 24th, at 9222 Grand River with the largest theater sign in Detroit. The State Theater at 2111 Woodward is opened by John H. Konski on October 29th. The Flamingo Theater at 14,720 East 7 Mile opens. The Penniman Allen Theater in Northville opens. These theaters also opened in 1925. The D&G Theater at 4035 West Van Air Highway is renamed Dick's. These theaters closed in 1925. 1926. The Michigan Theater is opened by the Konski Circuit on August 23rd with 4,038 seats. The Cass Playhouse opens on September 12th. It would later become a cinema in 1965. Samuel Brown opens the Dexter Theater at 11,618 Dexter. The Franklin Theater at 12,719 Gresham opens. The Lasky Theater at 13320 Joseph Compound in Hamtramck opens. The Loyal Theater at 13808 Grand River opens. The Senate Theater at 6424 Michigan is opened by Cooperative Theaters of Michigan. These theaters also opened in 1926. These theaters closed in 1926. 1927. The Riviera Annex at 8990 Grand River is opened by Cooperative Theaters of Michigan and Munns, Chas. W. Theatrical Enterprises on February 4th. The Uptown Theater at 16501 Woodward is opened by Keith's in Highland Park on March 6th. The Hollywood Theater at 4809 West Fort opens on September 25th. The Oriental Theater at 120 West Adams opens on September 26th. The Great Lakes Theater, 14832 Grand River is opened by Cooperative Theaters of Michigan on November 23rd. The Littman People Theater at 8208 12th Street opens, which became the Abington Theater later. The Detroit Film Center opens. The Granada Theater at 5549 W. Warren is opened by Cooperative Theaters of Michigan. The Irving Theater at 21,220 Fenkell opens. The Oriole Theater at 8,450 Linwood opens. These theaters also opened in 1927. Here are the changes for 1927. These theaters closes in 1927. 1928. The Radford Theater at 17354 Lasher is opened by the Konski Circuit on January 22nd. The United Artists Theater at 140 Bagley opens on February 3rd. The Fox Theatre opens on September 23 as the showplace of the world at the cost of $12 million, which is $150 million in today's money. It had 5,045 seats. The Fisher Theatre opens at 3011 West Grand on November 16th. The Little Theatre opens at 58 East Columbia for a private women's group called the 20th Century Club. The Chalmers Theatre opened at 1403 Harper. The Colony Theatre at 16,535 Mack opens. The Loop Theatre at 418 Michigan opens. It was operated 24 hours a day. The Wilson Theatre at 350 Madison opens as a playhouse. The Oliver Theatre at 8641 Mount Elliott is opened by the Cooperative Theaters of Michigan. The Ramona Theatre at 13,705 Gresham opens in October. These theaters also opened in 1928. The Montclair Theatre at 10739 Mack becomes the Ideal Theatre. These theaters closed in 1928. 1929. The Broadway Capitol reopens on August 30th by the Paramount Public Circuit as the Paramount Theatre. The Times Square on Michigan near Cass opens on October 9th by the Cooperative Theaters of Michigan. The Conant Theatre opens at 12027 Conant in Highland Park. The Roosevelt Theatre at 9515 Gresham is renamed the Imperial Theatre. These theaters closed in 1929. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe.